What's going on, everybody? It's the Deacon David Schiele, and that is the lovely MiAsia Symone. This is Talking Dirty Blackout Special. It's been a very difficult time in the country, and it's not something that's very easy to go through and just say, you know what, let's try to put that on the back burner and just talk about the Falcons. It's very difficult to try and do that, especially when it hits so close to home for MiAsia and myself. So this is a different edition coming out to you on a Monday instead of the typical Friday. And I mean, let's just be honest, MiAsia, it's just been a tough week.
Yes, it's been very, very tough. I actually had a birthday that just passed at the top of the month, and I decided to, in the midst of everything that was going on with the pandemic and just the police brutality, everything that's been going on, I decided to take that birthday and give back to the people. Get out there and allow people to share their stories, interview some people. The atmosphere was very emotional, very, very heavy. And, I know that as a country, if we can get through this, then everything else will be all right.
Absolutely. And your birthday being last week, I texted you how it was just during such a weird time. It was already during the pandemic.
Yes.
And then you get this going on with protests and people being going crazy on social media, just doing their best to put out information, expose other people. All kinds of things. It's just, exactly. It's almost been like it was already difficult being quarantined.
Yes.
Now this. So,
yeah. I definitely want to name the list of people who have lost their lives to police brutality. Rest in peace to Trayvon Martin, Michael Brown, Alton Sterling, Botham Jean, Tatiana Jefferson, Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd, Sean Reed, and Breonna Taylor. Those are the most recent. Of course, the list goes on and on and on and on. Like, I think we're close to maybe 100 plus people who have lost their lives to police brutality reported. A lot of people, of course, were saying, hey, some people didn't make the name of the list because their murder was either a closed case or something else, or brushed under the rug. It's definitely not something that we take lightly, and my heart goes out to everyone, and my condolences to all the families who have been affected by this.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been really tough. So, but the good thing is we've seen people step up. We've seen people make statements. We've seen a lot of allyship more than usual. I live in Knoxville, and Knoxville had a handful of peaceful protests.
Exactly.
This is a city that is just known for not having a lot of diversity, a lot of black people. So for them to have protests with a lot of white folks with their fists in the air, it just, it's been a lot. The energy has been a little bit different here. And we've also seen some good things going on in the NFL, which, we're going to touch on coming up next. And I think we've seen that not just with the NFL, but with the Falcons specifically.
Well, how are you holding up? Outside of that, how are you holding up being an African-American male during this time? What does it mean to you, despite everything that's going on?
It's rough. That's just what it is. I think it's incredibly tough to try and navigate through. Because it might be trending right now, but it will never stop being our reality.
Right.
As black men. And as black women as well. It just doesn't stop being our reality. So, my biggest thing has been, well, when this isn't trending, what are you going to do? In 2 weeks, are the allies still going to be the allies? In 3 weeks, are they still going to be the allies? I've been aware of police brutality and aware of the weaponizing and the militarization of the police since Trayvon Martin was killed. And I was in high school when that happened.
Right.
So you go from there. I've been all the way through college to now. I am, into my second year as a professional. That's a long time of just being aware of all kinds of stuff going on.
Right.
And black bodies being mistreated, the marginalization of black folks. So it's rough. It's trending right now.
Yes.
But it's not gonna stop. For me, there's no, people can be a Twitter activist and say all kind of stuff, and if you're not a black person, you can go on about your business. A white person can tweet something here and there and just go on about this. I can't tweet something and just go on about my business.
Exactly.
So it's been rough, and I think the other thing, I'm the only black male reporter in the market of Knoxville, Tennessee. So there hasn't been other male reporters in this market specifically that I can speak to and lean on. I got plenty of assistants here, but I only got just myself. So that's been rough as well. But I've had some conversations with people at my station and other people in the business. We've had that. So it's been good, but still rough.
Well, you definitely have another friend here in Atlanta. So if you ever need to call me, I know I might not be a black male, but I am a black woman. So I can definitely talk to you and try to comfort you the best way I know how during these times, because I know it's difficult.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, moving right along, the NFL has released a video. It's a video of basically a collage of all NFL, or a lot of NFL players who came together and basically spoke out about, police brutality, or, the whole Black Lives Matter movement. How do you feel about that?
It was needed for those players to kind of to get that video out, because I read a story about how they kind of put that together. It was basically a social media employee of the NFL going to road.
Right.
They have a protocol where I don't think they're allowed to directly speak to players without certain permission. Mm-hmm. And so this young man, black man, sought out Michael Thomas and sent a DM to Michael Thomas on Instagram and said, "Hey, I have this idea." Because the NFL released a statement with every other corporation, which was very lukewarm and just seemed very PR.
Right.
It's like, we stand against injustice, and racism is bad. Well, we all know that, but what are you going to do?
Right.
And so he had an idea, sent something out to Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas responded, said he was all in, said he was going to get some help, and he did. We saw Saquon Barkley, we saw Tyrann Mathieu, we saw Odell Beckham Jr. in that video as well, and it was a very simple message where it says, "Hey, Roger Goodell, this is what we want the NFL to say. Like, we really need the NFL to say, we stand with the black community. We believe Black Lives Matter. We need the NFL to say we are against injustices, and also there needs to be some admitting of fault when it comes to trying to speak against the silent protest that the players are doing."
Right.
Right. So when you got the players, which again, a majority of the league it's black players. Without black players, the NFL cannot be the NFL. Exactly. So you get the majority of your players, stars, big names, saying, "Hey, we identify with George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery."
Well,
and we need the NFL to say something.
Right. And then speaking of Michael Thomas, you have Drew Brees, who they're kind of a divided household right now. Drew Brees spoke out, and he said some things that was very offensive to the people. Everyone kind of went off. But why do you think he spoke out? If there's this thing where in an NFL you cannot speak out, or you can't say certain things without your publicist like confirming it, or tweets that you put out, why do you think he was so willing to just tweet and put out a message that I don't even know? Do you think he knew it would offend everybody, or do you think he just kind of didn't care and he wanted to speak out on it?
Well, he was in an interview and he was asked a very direct question. He was asked what his thoughts were on if the kneeling, the protest took place during the national anthem again this season.
Right.
I haven't really seen that be a prominent thing since the 2017 season.
Exactly.
So he said, how do you feel about it? What were your thoughts beyond that? And Brees, without hesitation, went straight into, well, I don't respect, disrespecting the flag. I will not tolerate any disrespect for the American flag. When I look at that flag, I think of my two grandfathers in World War II.
Right.
And he immediately made it about himself and his family, his thoughts. And he was asked for his thoughts. You can play devil's advocate and say he was asked for his thoughts. Here's where it really offended people, is that he did not acknowledge, recognize, or even say he understood why Kaepernick or the other players in the league were kneeling. He didn't say, "I understand why they are kneeling. I understand why they decided to take a knee. I understand the reason for the protest."
Right.
He went straight with that narrative of it's about the flag immediately. It's about the flag, it's about the flag, it's about the flag, and it's about the military. And it's not. That's not what the protests were about.
And I think that a lot of this has to do with your foundation, how you were raised growing up, what you're introduced to. And, like, think about it like this. If you're a racist and your parents are racist and your grandparents are racist and their great-parents are racist, you don't know any other way to think. And even if you learn, if you get to a certain age or a certain point in your life where you start to pick up other ways of thinking, other habits, you're still going to have some of that instilled in you. And those moments will still come out because that's all you know. And, there are a lot of white friends who are reaching out to their Black friends asking, teach us, what offends you? What makes you mad? How do you feel about this? Or how should I feel about this? And a lot of them don't know. They don't know the I don't want to say politically correct. They just don't know or have the proper feelings towards what Black people go through in the community. And so I think it's really, really rough. And I don't really know, I wish I could sit down and talk to Drew Brees and see, like what his mindset really is, because sometimes in the heat of a moment, you may blurt out something and you didn't fully think it out. There are a couple of influencers who are online and they did that. They blurted out things and then they had to go back and retract it and apologize. I don't know. It could be one of those things where it's showing who you really are, your true colors. Or it could just be you're miseducated and misinformed on what to say and how to move, during times like this.
Yeah, and he's tried. I mean, he released an apology on Instagram the next morning. He then released a video apologizing that same day.
Right.
He's been on the phone with Alvin Kamara. He's been on the phone with Michael Thomas. Mm-hmm. He even responded to the president when the president tried to take up his side and say, well, you were right to say that you don't take disrespect to the American flag because everybody needs to respect the American flag. And Drew Brees responded with, well, I realized in the last couple of days with talking with teammates that the protests were never about the flag. And he seems very apologetic. But to tell me that this man who is grown, he's got sons, he's got kids. Mm-hmm. I believe he's in his 40s or he turned 40. He's, to think that mindset flipped overnight, I'm not buying that. But I will say he is really trying based off of what I've seen on social media.
Not only that, you have to realize that you're playing on a team where the Black culture is appreciated. It's celebrated. If you ever take a trip to New Orleans, you get that whole, Bourbon Street, Mardi Gras vibe, Fat Tuesday, all that stuff is Black culture, and you're on that team where you're representing that city. And so it really makes everyone look at you a certain way because it's like, where is the disconnect? Where is, how are you not on the same page as, the teammates that you've been playing with? So I just really hope that, and not to spend too much time on it, I just really, really hope that the NFL finds a way, because I do want people to speak out. I do want these players to speak out, because when there was a blackout on Tuesday and everyone wasn't posting, or people were posting their black squares in honor of Black Lives Matter, I think that the NFL was really, really quiet. So they did feel that pressure to put that video out. They did feel that pressure to speak out. And I think that there has to be some type of middle ground that the league comes to where NFL players can speak out, because there are some who are very educated and very aware of certain situations. And sometimes, people need the culture and the community and the world needs their voices to get through it. And sometimes we want to see their perspective. So we just have to find that balance somehow when it comes to speaking out, because you have those who don't have the proper media training and don't need to speak out. But then you do have the ones who could be great and to speak out and they're not able to. So somehow we have to get that balance.
Absolutely. Yep. I agree.
In other news, Matt Ryan, he actually will, in addition to that, he added a $500,000 donation. He wanted to start a GoFundMe, which he did. The goal is $2 million. So he already fronted the $500,000 for that. and he wants the community and everyone to pitch in, and all proceeds will go to people who have been affected by police brutality, Black Lives Matter organizations, and things of that nature. I really, really, really love the fact that he did this, because Matt Ryan is also a white quarterback, and he wasn't really speaking out as much, and everybody's kind of wondering what he's thinking, especially from the Falcons standpoint. And so for him to put those numbers up and to start this GoFundMe and to get everybody together as one, I agree with it. So I salute it.
Yeah, he's admitted to having very silent support in the past and being a very silent supporter, but he really feels like he needs to be more active. And he's always been a leader. That's who Matt Ryan is. So he said, right, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to start off. You know, I want us to donate, and I'm going to start off with $500,000. And so we've seen Dan Quinn add on to that. So his head coach jumped in with $25,000. We've seen the president of the Atlanta Falcons, Rich McKay, make a donation, and so did Thomas Dimitroff, the general manager. You know, if players have submitted to some of these donations have been anonymous, so there may have been some teammates who have submitted donations as well. But I think that what you see here from Matt Ryan is just true leadership.
Right.
You can say all kind of stuff. Matt Ryan could have released a video, and he could have let his Twitter fingers go. He's saying, I need to put my money where my mouth is.
Right.
You know, I think saying it right now on Twitter because it's trending is not real activism.
Right.
You know, you've got to make donations. You've got to go out and vote. You have to see policy changes. There are some things that you need to do in your community that Twitter is not going to do. Twitter can help raise awareness. Twitter can help spread word. But Twitter itself isn't going to change it. It's going to be really putting your money where your mouth is, and that's what I'm wrong.
And my personal take on it is, you know, like, there's been arguments in households, amongst the community, amongst the people, on social media. These arguments have been who's protesting the right way, who's bringing awareness the right way, who's doing it the wrong way. I honestly feel like there's no right or wrong way to this situation. You have some people who are angry and mad. They're protesting 9 days straight. I think today would make day 9 or day 10, actually. I think today would be day 10. And then you have people who are reaching out and starting movements on social media. You have people, I don't necessarily agree with the looting and the burning buildings and businesses and things like that. I do feel like if that wasn't the case, it wouldn't be as known and recognized, or it wouldn't have gotten the attention that we needed. So it's a bad thing that everything happened, because you know, people got hurt, people got arrested. You know, that's not good. But I feel like if it wasn't something so traumatic and something so out there, I just feel like it wouldn't have made the change wouldn't have come faster or as fast as it did. You know, for those other 3 officers to be arrested, along Chauvin, if I think I'm saying his last name right. I feel like if those buildings weren't burnt, if those people didn't stand up to those cops, I don't think that would have happened. You know, they're more so looking at it like, well, we have to protect our country, so these people are acting out, let's get on it. And I think that a simple, peaceful protest probably wouldn't have gotten the job done as fast. That's just my personal opinion.
It's a complicated thing, because there's layers. There's layers to it. But the very simple layer is, it's been decades of marching and talking and trying to peacefully protest. And every single time it's been, well, that's not the right way to do it. Or they just turned on the hoses and brought out the dog.
Yeah, exactly.
Sit-ins were met with thrown food and pouring drinks, you know, on black folks sitting at the counter. Right. So telling us, don't march, you're in the way. Right. Don't sit in, you're in the way. Right. Don't kneel, because it's disrespectful to the military. Right. You know, don't do this, don't do this, don't do that. Right.
There's so many.
Well, but you know, the thing was, what the protest was for was literally just civil rights. I was listening to something yesterday where it was like, it's weird that we're fighting for civil, like they were fighting for civil rights back then. Right. Just civil. Right. Not you know, privileged, extra privileged rights, just civil ones, just civil rights.
Right.
And now it's fighting for Black lives to matter.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Not matter more, not, become extra valuable, just matter.
Right.
And the fact that that's a debate is really weird. Not weird, but it's very off-putting because it's like they don't matter, and then changing it to, all lives matter. It's like if someone came up to me, so if you and I were married and you say, hey, do you love me? And I said, I love everyone. It's just like
a very good scenario. Very good scenario.
Right. It's like, oh, I love everyone. Like, what are you talking about?
But
so
in this moment, I'm asking about me,
Exactly. So you completely miss the point when you sit there and say, well, everyone's life matters. Of course.
Right.
Of course. But there's a marginalized group that right now needs our attention. And, Black on Black crime is the only thing people like to bring up.
Right.
Simply because it's really rooted in the Black part. Mm-hmm. Like they're looking at the Black part and it's, oh, well, Chicago. Well, you can look at where I'm from. You can look at Indiana. Mm-hmm. You can look at Wyoming. You can look at Iowa. You can look at whatever other state. You can look right here in Tennessee.
Right.
Where based off of your ethnic group and where you are and where you're placed, crime is about location. Crimes against white people happen by white people.
Right.
And it's the same thing for every other community. It's the same thing for the Hispanic community. It's the same thing in the Asian community.
Right.
People in ethnic groups commit crimes against that same ethnic group. That's what happens.
Exactly.
We're only talking about what happens between the police
mm-hmm.
and Black folks.
Exactly.
That's where the issue comes in. Dylan Roof murdered people, slaughtered people in a church that accepted him in and prayed with him and allowed him to worship with them.
Right.
And he slaughtered them like they were animals. Mm-hmm. The police saw him and they took him to Burger King on the way to the detention center or the holding center.
Right.
To where George Floyd, who just had some counterfeit documents,
right,
basically tortured to death.
$20 bill. He tried to I think pay for a pack of cigarettes. I think with a $20 bill, a counterfeit $20 bill, and right. It caused his life. And it's so crazy because the actual owner of the market said that he's no longer going to reach out and contact the police for something that is a non-violent crime because he's scared that someone will lose their life over something so simple. So he feels bad that he reached and he called the cops about it. And I mean, there's a lot of other different opinions that went on into that, and these conversations can go on and on and on and on. And I just, hope and pray that everyone out here is learning from these situations, taking these things seriously, avoiding these situations for the future, and teaching your kids and the youth how to get through times like this or how to avoid things like this from happening.
Yeah, and these like I said, these conversations have to be had, and I think raising awareness is good. But again, it's about going to the polls and putting people in place that are going to change policies and change things around, because it's the system. It's a system that was created. The system is functioning the way it was created to function. The system, America was, founded, and it was built where Black folks were 3/5 of a person. They weren't even a full person. So it's functioning the way it was built to function. We're just trying to change that system now.
Exactly.
We tried talking wasn't working. So now they're looting and they're doing all this physical damage to buildings.
Right.
Do we have your attention now? Pay attention and listen to us now. So that way, by listening and gaining some understanding, you can now go to the polls and change something.
Exactly.
That's what's happening.
Well, we have to get into our 8-minute expert. We have one today. I want you to go ahead and introduce him. And for those who don't know, the 8-minute expert segment is someone that we bring on, our special guests, and they kind of give perspectives on how they feel about the topics that we're hitting on today.
Yeah, so today we have got a fellow Georgia State alum. He is he's a rising DJ in the city of Atlanta. He used to work for the Atlanta Falcons back in the day, back when Vic was quarterback. So we're happy to bring in DJ Feng Sway, and we're going to get into, of course, basically what we've been discussing this whole time, and just kind of get another opinion on it and add another voice.
Yes. Let's welcome in DJ Feng Sway.
Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome. We got you up out of bed to talk about the NFL and everything that's going on right now.
I see.
What is your take on racism as in regards to the NFL?
In regards to the NFL, I think they're about to move forward and actually try to correct the problem. I've seen a lot of interviews, a lot of SportsCenter, a lot of talk shows talking about the issue and what they plan on doing. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. I know a lot of people, organizations are staying with them, and they want to make donations towards the cause. And they've been making small donations and things of that nature. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see the action part of it as we go forward.
As we've been talking, MiAsia and I have been talking about different things we've seen from the NFL in terms of videos and Roger Goodell's video. I think a very good question that was posed was, does the NFL owe Colin Kaepernick an apology?
Yes, I definitely think they owe him a big apology. Just from the example with Drew Brees. And not only him, you had the Denver Broncos head coach Vic Fangio and his comments that he made that said he's seen no racism in the NFL, but we have a lack of, black quarterbacks, coaching, and owners as well. So I think, they do owe him an apology. I think so.
Would you want to see Kaepernick in the league again? Would you want to see him on a team after this? After the league has I think that is kind of like an informal apology. I don't know if it was a whole apology, but they're definitely getting behind him and standing with him. Do you feel like he deserves to come back out and get back out there, or do you like him better as an activist?
I think they can do both. It's the NFL. Hey, it's a big organization, and I think they need to say his name. They haven't said his name publicly yet, addressing the issue with them and the lawsuit they had going on with him and the things of that nature. So I think first they need to publicly address his name, and then maybe we'll get a chance to see him, because honestly, his statistics and his background of what he has, he deserved to be on a team. So yes.
And then you look at some situations where you brought up Drew Brees, where it's been rumored that players are going to start kneeling again this season. Do you think they'll start kneeling in this season? Is that something that should take place, or should there be another form of protest?
That's a great question. Honestly, I think we'll see a different dynamic just based on the fact that we'll be home as fans, all watching the game. Normally, they still do, publicize the whole national anthem thing. So we get a chance to see the players. I guess it's going to be very, very interesting to see that. I think they will protest. I did see a 15-minute clip, 15 player clip of led by Michael Thomas of the New Orleans Saints, Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson and many more. They were saying the names of the victims of police brutality. So I think they're going to go forward and take a kneel. I guess the interesting thing will be how Drew Brees fixes his locker room, considering that he has Teron Armstead as his right tackle. So I don't know, and he's a black guy, so I don't know his take on it. So I would be curious to see how he will be protected this season.
What do you feel is the best way to step forward with change? I know people are making donations, statements are being sent out. Do you think that's enough, or do you feel like there's more that could be done to get that satisfaction of being an African American male in a professional football league?
I think that's a very convoluted question, because honestly, we have over 400 years of racism in this country as a whole. So I don't know if we can do one action. Like, I don't think one action is going to swing the pendulum of racism to fix it all in one motion. I think it'd have to be a consistent thing. We have to be consistent as fans, players or owners, organizations. Everybody has to do their part, even on the smaller level, just as far as, standing up and speaking out, if we see anything that's absurd or, out of the ordinary. I think we're doing a great job of everybody being vocal and using their platform. So I think that's the first step.
And as you look at some of the players, Matt Ryan making his $500,000 donation. The Denver Broncos were leading protests yesterday in Colorado. When you see all of these things take place, do you think it's actually being really effective getting across to some people that, okay, we need to take this seriously, because players who usually, like Matt Ryan said, have silent support are actually being activists? Is that going to make as big of a difference because they have that platform?
I think your voice matters. Anytime you have any situation, I think we're now people that were oblivious to it before. I think we all have to acknowledge it now. So we're all having the uncomfortable conversation, even though it might be uncomfortable for some people to have, depending on if you're on the other side or even if you're on the other side. Either way it goes, you have to start having these conversations. So I think it's starting to make us have the conversation. And I know sometimes that it will, in order to make change, you have to have those uncomfortable conversations in this situation. So I think it's actually educating people, and, everybody's kind of doing their own research as we're trying to figure out, who's standing with what. Even at the same time, you still have to research and see what they're talking about. I think even Drew Brees is becoming educated on, his stance, and, not saying anything wrong with what he believes in. I think it was just wrong timing and lack of empathy. So, I think education is key.
All right. Well, we want to thank you so much for joining us this morning. Is there anything else you want to close out with about the Falcons this season?
Hopefully they'll give us 11-5 record. Let's hope so.
Wow. We really, really appreciated that perspective. It's kind of cool to just see how people think in general. It doesn't matter what space you're in, where you come from. There's always going to be a different perspective. And I'm very open-minded, so I'm open to, many different opinions. And with that being said, speaking of the Falcons, we're going to go ahead and close out with the fact that Matt Ryan is already impressed with Todd Gurley, and they've been kind of working out together, building that chemistry in Southern California. And he actually had something to say. He said, "I've gotten to work with Todd, and he's awesome. Really, really good guy, a hard worker. He's super smart. The stuff I was telling him one day, the next day he had done it. I was really impressed with his ability to retain information. You don't have to tell him twice. He's on it." And so I think that he's happy with, who he has on his side. And I don't know, what do you feel about that?
I mean, it's good that they're working out together, and it's important to build that chemistry, especially in a time where you should have been having mini camp. You should be getting ready for training camp, which, I think will probably still happen. But at this time, it's good that they're building that chemistry, because there's so many new pieces to this Falcons team, especially on offense, also on defense. But I think that the biggest thing about Todd Gurley is, his health, his knees. Are they going to be good to go? Will he be able to withstand an entire season? But again, my point's always been, Dirk Cutter has an open book.
Right.
All of these all-stars on offense. You got Matt Ryan. You got an MVP quarterback. You had Todd Gurley, who had a near MVP-like season a couple years ago. And Todd Gurley, I believe he led the league in rushing touchdowns in 2018. Then you got Julio Jones. Of course, Julio is, considered the best receiver in the league. Calvin Ridley is an up-and-coming star. You have to be able to develop a running game. You got to be able to, create some things on offense. This offense should be entirely dangerous.
Right.
All the way through. This offense should be incredibly dangerous.
Right.
And it goes, to me, it honestly sits on Dirk Cutter's shoulders to develop something with this offense.
Exactly.
So them building the chemistry is great. I've heard that all before. I've heard that when Steven Jackson came in,
Right.
and nothing came of that.
But the main thing is his state of health. He has to be healthy. And that knee thing could be tricky because I tore my left ACL when I was a senior in high school, and then still came back to play college ball. I did 2 years of JUCO. So this is basketball, of course. And I didn't always feel 100%, and then there's good days, there's bad days. You have rainy days, it's kind of sore, it aches. You need to take, medicine and keep that pain down. And it's just more so, and then he's a male, so he's doing more cutting, he's doing more running, he's at a faster speed, a higher rate, and it's just one of those things where it's tricky. So I think we won't know for sure until we get closer to preseason, before we can kind of just say, hey, he's good to go. But like you said, it does sound good in the beginning. It's always fun when you get a new teammate and you're building that chemistry and you're just out there like, running plays, but it's a little different when it's time to really get down to the nitty gritty and be prepared and ready to go out there.
Yeah, I need to see it. I've done all the talking. When I used to just be on the Falcons website every day, hear all the talking. It was always, playoff hopefuls, Super Bowl contenders a few times. And like, yeah, we expect to make it there, but we got to take it one game at a time. But we're very encouraged by what we've seen. Every player is going to look good. In no one's going to come out there and be like, man, yeah, we signed this guy and I think he's trash.
Right.
No one's going to say that.
Right.
So, you got to see it though. There needs to be some real evaluation. So, those things, you just got to take it with a grain of salt.
All right. Well, do you have anything else before we close out? I mean, there's a lot. I definitely want to say, just stay safe out here. Everything that's going on, stay safe. Continue to educate yourself. Continue to find ways to help and to be a part of what is going on. If you haven't spoke out about anything, or if you didn't have a perception, or if you didn't have anything, at least say something, reach out, donate something. I think that you should be involved in some type of way. No matter if you're Black, white, Hispanic, it doesn't matter the race. I think this directly affects everyone or indirectly affects everyone in some type of way. And, if you don't speak out, if you don't do anything, then the change won't come.
Yeah, I think that Black culture has a lot of influence on just about everything. And you've seen how, hip hop and R&B have kind of taken over when it comes to music. Black Twitter makes things trend. A lot of the trending topics on Twitter come from Black Twitter. You've seen that influence. People have really been enjoying and benefiting off of Black audiences and Black culture.
Right.
However, when a real Black issue shows up, some people go silent.
Exactly.
And they're not there. They love everything about being Black except the actual being Black part.
Exactly.
And I think it's kind of a weird thing where it's like, it is not up to us to teach you how to maneuver right. Mm-hmm. You got to find that out for yourself. But some people just honestly don't know where to start. Mm-hmm. They're products of their environment. They don't know where to start.
Right.
So yeah, there's documentaries out there that you can look up and find. There are websites where you can say, where can I find some information on what's going on today?
Right.
Because the ending of the Jim Crow laws did not end any type of racism. That was any type of systemic racism.
Right.
So get educated, look that stuff up, but also know that if you have been benefiting off of Black culture, or you have used Black culture, and you're silent right now, that silence is violence.
It is, definitely.
You are completely showing yourself as someone who enjoys Black culture, enjoys the things that Black people like to do.
But you don't stand behind it 100%.
But you don't stand behind Black people. So, you're ignoring your audience, you're ignoring fans, and it's completely, it shows your ignorance. And I think the best thing about this whole thing has been the allyship that we've seen, but also people getting exposed and canceled, because you've shown yourself at this point.
You're showing your true colors.
You've shown your true colors. And the fact that Black Lives Matter has been a thing for 6 years.
Yes.
So 6 years ago, for me, 6 years ago, I was in high school, freshly out of high school.
Right.
And it took 6 years for Black Lives Matter to become less controversial, because it's still controversial to a degree, but become less controversial.
Right, right.
So if you are still on the side of, well, I still think it still should be all lives matter because of black on black crime, black lives on black lives, then you've just been woefully ignorant for over 6 years. Because not just the hashtag coming out, but before that, because that had to be your mindset before. So, people are exposing themselves, and I think for people who really want to try, go ahead, get educated, and find some things out, and then go out there and be active. Don't just have the knowledge and just sit on it.
Right.
Apply that and teach that to your children, because that, racial biases and implicit biases, those things are caught, those things are seen throughout TV shows, and it's all about making sure you're filling your child, training up a child in the way they should go. That's what the word tells. So those things are important, and I think that over time we may see a cultural shift in more people being allies and being active. Mm-hmm. But again, it's all about putting people in power and getting policies changed.
Absolutely. Preach. Well, we want to thank you all so much for joining us on episode 3 of Talking Dirty, the Blackout special. If you have any questions, don't forget to comment below. Questions, concerns, anything that you feel we should change, things you want to know more about. And we have more and more episodes coming. Right now it's bi-weekly, but it'll be weekly when the season hits. So you'll get more and more specials and more episodes as we get closer to the season. But if you don't have anything else, it's MiAsia Symone and David Schiele, and stay tuned for episode 4.